Let's take a look at a room of teenagers today. What are you going to find? Generally, you'll find them being, antisocial, texting on their phones, even like for long periods of time. They're just quietly browsing, Facebook, Twitter, MySpace. And I think clearly this is a problem in our society that is not very well addressed. Although interconnectedness has, been, connected people around the world, it has very deleterious effects towards our generation and the younger generation. This began with the inception of MySpace and Facebook in the early 2000s, yet never really skyrocketed until 2008 when the Apple iPhone was created and smartphones really started to boom. And so social media, unfortunately, has taken over the identities of many kids around the world. People become more focused and obsessed with, editing photos and making like profile pictures and getting the maximum amount of likes they can get. Sure, connection has increased. Sure, like we now know what you're doing on vacation. However, our interpersonal skills are unfortunately going down, and this is really affecting kids in their developmental stages when they're only learning to communicate. And there are actually many things like selective attention. Kids are selectively attending to, for example, their professors or their parents. They only listen to the important material. However, they are able to tune everything else out. They forget, the hand motions, the emotions, the idiosyncrasies of conversation. They simply forget about this, and this is only harmful for in the long term when they try to communicate with others in the world, because we don't live in a virtual world. Many teens actually do not have the social skills even to communicate with people of the opposite sex. I've heard of many stories where teenagers wish they could just speak to the opposite sex without being all worried and knowing how to have a conversation. This movie, which came out in 2013, known as Her, was a movie based on a guy who wasn't very successful with his relationships, and so he formed a relationship with his Siri, pretty much his operating system. He was able to turn to the operating system because it was able to always listen. It was always present for him to be there. The feeling of nobody listening is a great feeling in society today because of how closed off we've become and how isolated we've become due to social media and technology. So we are clearly losing social skills, and that is primarily due to the iPhone and the accessibility of your telephone. Your cell phone is pretty much able to, grant you an audience whenever you need it. You're never able to feel alone, and so the fact that you're never able to be alone makes you really afraid when you are actually alone. It makes you really want to run to your social media and type up a status. And so there's actually a quote: "I share, therefore I am." People are turning to social media in order to make feelings. They would rather first share what they feel in order to make that feeling. It's a strange concept, I know. However, many people actually go through this. Many people also post on social media, cryptic messages of cries for help, rather than relying on their fellow human being to, aid them, assist them, talk to. We've become very closed-minded, and we've become more selfish with social media. And so, there are solutions, people. We are on a sinking ship right now if we continue this way, yet there are many solutions. And I think it starts with parenting. With parenting, I believe there has to be strict guidelines on when, texting and social media can be used. For example, at the dinner table, that should be a sacred ground for communication. Maybe even the living room, or a certain movie time, movie hour, or whatever. I also believe firmly that kids need to be going outside and playing and interacting with others rather than staying indoors and playing Angry Birds for 8 hours a day. That doesn't benefit any communication skills. And so our touchscreens are making us lose touch with reality. And I firmly believe that rather than worrying about the amount of likes you're gonna the optimal amount of likes you're going to rack up, you should be more worried about those people around you that love you and care for you and that you're able to talk to and enjoy the real world with. So I will conclude with, our generation needs to be the generation to start the change, and to get more into the real world. Thank you very much.